Will be now read a second time, and I call the member for Hinkler.
Well, thank you, Mr Acting Deputy Speaker. Last week I travelled from one end of my electorate to the other, from Bundaberg to Hervey Bay, stopping in Childers, Woodgate, Burham Heads and Howard, because I wanted to give Hinkler residents an opportunity to speak to me directly after the release of the Coalition's first budget, because I thought if any electorate was going to be critical of the budget, it would be mine. Hinkler has the fourth highest unemployment rate in the country. We have more aged pensioners than any other federal electorate, and Bundaberg has the highest rate of disability in Queensland. We also have amongst the highest rates of smoking and obesity. And before the budget was released, the member for Maribyrnong, Bill Shorten, shamelessly targeted my electorate of Hinkler, just like Chicken Little, scaring the vulnerable by telling them the Coalition wanted to cut pensions. Well, let me assure the residents of my electorate that the sky is not falling. We promised not to change aged pensions in this term of parliament, and we haven't. At the 2013 election, we promised to get the budget under control and grow the economy, and that is exactly what we're doing. There's no doubt this is a tough budget, but those difficult choices will reduce Labor's deficits by $43 billion, and debt will be $275 billion lower over the decade, because governments, like households and businesses, must live within their means. And small business people know better than most that if you're going to borrow money to expand your operation or invest in capital, you need a plan to pay that money back. And when you start borrowing money to pay the staff and keep the lights on, well, that's when you're in real trouble. Likewise, it is ill-advised for households to spend money on luxuries they can't afford, but that is exactly what the former Labor government did. Did they forget that at some point the credit card would have to be paid off, or did they just not care? Labor had no plan to repair the budget when it was in government. Labor has no plan now. They offer no alternatives, just rhetoric and scaremongering. And after 6 years of Labor, what did Australians get? Well, we got the bill. In his budget reply speech, the opposition leader, Bill Shorten, said this budget was drawn up by people who have never lived from paycheck to paycheck. Well, I take great offence at remarks like that, and Labor's constant insistence that Coalition members are out of touch with working families. I'm a tradesperson. I did a 4-year electrical apprenticeship at Ferrymead Sugar Mill. I am a farmer. My wife and I own 2 cane farms, and my parents continue to operate a harvesting business. I'm university educated. At the age of 22, I worked part-time as a lifeguard to support myself through an engineering degree at the Queensland University of Technology. I've established a small business that employed up to 15 people at any one time. It delivered vocational training and consultancy services to industrial workplaces. I have 3 children. My wife works part-time as a radiographer at one of the local hospitals. But the member for Maribyrnong, Bill Shorten, is private school educated, studied arts and law at university, and since worked as a union bureaucrat and a politician. So I'd be interested to know how many times Mr Shorten's lived from paycheck to paycheck. And I can tell you there are plenty of people in my electorate of Hinkler who do live paycheck to paycheck every single fortnight. Some of them have been in my office this past week, deeply concerned about how the budget will affect them. But when you explain the detail, many realise just how much misinformation is being peddled by those opposite. Pensioners and children under 16 will pay no more than $70 per calendar year for medical treatment under the proposed $7 medical co-contribution. And the indexation of the fuel excise will add less than 1 cent per litre to the cost of petrol. The funds raised through these budget measures will go towards a medical research fund and road infrastructure. And to make matters worse, some media reports have been very one-sided or scanned on detail. To promote my post-budget tour across the electorate last week, one local TV journalist asked if she and her cameraman could accompany on a street walk. The 3 people I approached understood that tackling Labor's debt would require everyone to play a part and that our current situation was unsustainable. However, the journalist overlooked all 3 of these supportive constituents and instead ran grabs she'd later obtained for people who were unhappy with the budget. Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, I'm grateful to those Hinkler constituents who have read the detail for themselves, those that have contacted my office or approached me directly to seek answers to their questions, because my door is always open. There is no doubt that this is a tough budget, and it is only fair that everyone contributes to the repair task. And Australians earning over $180,000 a year, who already pay significant taxes, will be required to pay a temporary budget repair levy of 2% for 3 years. We've frozen politicians' pay, and we will put an end to the gold pass travel entitlements. Each year, the government spends more on welfare than it does on the education of our children and the health of our people. The government is tightening the eligibility for family payments to ensure it supports those most in need of assistance. because without policy changes, the cost of the age pension is projected to increase by 70% over the next decade, almost $40 billion a year currently, from almost $40 billion. The previous government increased the pension age to 67, and we are further increasing that age to 70 by the 1st of July 2035. Australians will still be able to retire at whatever age they choose, but those born before 1966 will have to be 70 before they can receive the age pension. The government will introduce incentives of up to $10,000 to encourage businesses to employ people who are over the age of 50, who have been on unemployment benefits or the disability support pension for 6 months. And from September 2017, pensions will be indexed to the CPI rather than wages. This way, we can ensure that our pension system remains sustainable, while pensions keep up with the cost of living. The family home will continue to be excluded from the Social Security means test. This government recognises the contribution self-funded retirees make to the community, including saving the nation considerable pension costs. From 20 September 2014, the income thresholds for the Commonwealth Seniors Health Card will be indexed annually to the CPI, enabling up to 27,000 additional people to qualify for the card over the next 4 years. Indexing the current income thresholds will mean more self-funded retirees will not lose out on entitlements because of changes in their income, giving them more freedom to actively contribute to their community. Seniors health card holders will no longer receive the seniors supplement. However, they will continue to receive a range of concessional benefits, including lower co-payments for medicines on the Pharmaceutical Benefits Scheme and access to the lower threshold for the extended Medicare safety net. Changes to the PBS will increase the cost of prescriptions for concessional patients by 80 cents to $6.90, and after 60 prescriptions, it's free for the rest of the calendar year. But the budget contains plenty of good news too. This budget delivers on every one of my election commitments to the people of Hinkler. $4.7 million for Old Toogoom Road and Riverheads Road. $350,000 for the Harvey Bay Hockey Association to install synthetic turf. $500,000 for upgrades at the Harvey Bay and Bundaberg Surf Lifesaving Clubs. $93,000 for Bundaberg Regional Council to install surf safety surveillance cameras at the Elliott Rivermouth, Palmers Creek and Ennis Park and at Monterey Park. And of course $125,000 for the Centenary of Anzac local grants program across Hinkler. After repeated calls from local community groups, we've committed $245.3 million over 4 years to continue the National School Chaplaincy program. And the Coalition is delivering more than $12 billion in overall funding to the veteran community, including honouring our election commitment to deliver fair indexation for military superannuants. Even after the carbon tax is repealed to save average householders $550 per year, the associated tax breaks and energy supplements will remain in place to provide a cost of living relief. Much to the relief of Hinkler farmers and commercial fishers, the diesel fuel rebate has been retained. The rebate will be indexed at the same rate as the fuel excise, meaning there will be no net increase in the cost of diesel for those who receive the rebate. The reintroduction of indexation on the fuel excise will cost an additional $24 per year for someone who uses 50 litres of fuel per week. And as I previously mentioned, money raised from the indexation of the fuel excise will be spent on roads, bringing the government's infrastructure budget to a record $50 billion. Because the Coalition understands that well-planned infrastructure delivered in a timely manner is vital to our economy. It also facilitates service delivery to regional Australia and provides long-term employment and opportunities for training and development. That's why $13.4 billion will be spent in Queensland, including $6.7 billion on the Ailing-Bruce Highway. And we're delivering a $1 billion National Stronger Regions Fund. Councils and community groups will be able to apply for grants for capital works projects that will regenerate communities with high unemployment. There's $300 million for the new Bridges Renewal Program and $100 million to address mobile phone black spots. I understand that transport infrastructure is not the only hurdle that regional businesses have to overcome. Here in Australia, regulation is high, input costs are high, labour costs are high, the Australian dollar is high and profits are low. But we are working to change that. We're cutting the company tax rate by 1.5% to help around 800,000 businesses. Repealing the carbon tax will help business to flourish, because the electricity costs incurred through irrigation and refrigerant gases, for example, skyrocketed with the introduction of the tax. We're cutting red and green tape to save businesses time and money, which will lift productivity and boost economic growth. Building on the free trade agreements we recently signed with South Korea and Japan, the government will provide $15 million to help small exporters. There's $9 million to support our recreational and commercial fishing bodies, $100 million extra for agricultural research and development $20 million to build a stronger biosecurity and quarantine system. And let me tell you why we are trying to make it easier, not harder, to do business in Australia. Because it is business that grows our economy and it is business that creates jobs. Small business is the backbone of regional Australia. They employ 50% of all Australians working in the private sector. Jobs are sorely needed in my electorate of Hinkler. Unemployment is our single biggest issue. Unemployment is often a contributing factor in cases of marital breakdown, domestic violence, criminal activity, poor nutrition, health problems and a declining school attendance. Employment gives people the ability to pay their own way and provide for their families, because the people of this great nation should be able to depend on their elected representatives. But that does not mean that we should be building a nation of dependence. Under the Rudd and Gillard governments, unemployment in the Hinkler electorate increased from 6% in the September 07 quarter to 9.6% in the June 2013 quarter. That's compared to an unemployment rate of 5.4% for the nation, or 6% in Queensland. As promised, we're revitalising the Work for the Dull program to give people routine, structure, presentation skills and access to potential employers. Young people will now be required to earn, learn or work for the dull. We are fortunate to live in a country where this government provides a safety net to those who find themselves without employment. Requiring Australians to work for the dull ensures that obligation is mutual. I recently spoke to State Member for Hervey Bay, Ted Sorensen, about the reintroduction of the Howard government's Work for the Dull program. When Ted was the local mayor, Work for the Dull participants helped construct all the walkways and bike paths along the Esplanade. Ted cannot speak highly enough of the program. It is one, he says, built self-confidence, gave participants a sense of achievement, and many went on to gain long-term employment as a direct result of their involvement in Work for the Dull. Financial incentives will be provided to employers and to employees to get young people into the workforce. Long-term unemployed in Hinkler, aged between 18 to 30, will receive $2,500 if they hold a job for a continuous period of 12 months, and a further bonus of $4,000 when they attain 24 months of service. For the first time, those undertaking an apprenticeship will be able to apply for concessional loans of up to $20,000 in a scheme similar to HECS. Students with low socio-economic backgrounds or from regional areas will have access to a new Commonwealth scholarship scheme. Mr Acting Deputy Speaker, in the past 8 months, 7 federal ministers, 3 parliamentary secretaries, 4 coalition senators have all visited the Hinkler electorate. They're there to hear about the issues impacting local residents and businesses. And I also hosted the first Nationals Party Room meeting in 2014 in Bundaberg. Born and bred in the Bundaberg district, I take every opportunity to advocate on the behalf of Hinkler residents, and this budget will be no different. Constituents can rest assured that I will take their grievances to the relevant minister. And in closing, gone is the unstable Labor government that in a very short time gave us 2 Prime Ministers, 2 Treasurers and 5 Assistant Treasurers. Australians have elected a coalition government to repair the budget and build the stronger, more prosperous country that we all want. This budget starts that process, and I commend the bill to the House.
Thank the member for Hinkler. The question is the bill be now read a second time.